Welcome to episode 27 of the 3am Fear podcast. This case came to be known as the 2022 Ilantur human sacrifice case. As of 16 October 2022, 3 arrests have been made. Today's episode is quite different from the ones that I usually do. And so the narration of this episode is going to be different. This is an ongoing case. Selvaraj was a young man living in Chennai. He would call his mother every single day to talk to her, but this one particular day, she did not pick the call. In fact, her phone was coming switched off, and this worried him. It had never happened before. Concerned for his mother's well-being, he called his aunt and mother's sister, Palaniamma, who lived nearby, to ask her to go about and find out where his mother was. His aunt went to his mother's house, and that's when she discovered that the door was locked. His mother was nowhere to be seen. She tried to call her, but her phone was switched off. Worried and unable to locate his mother, Selvaraj decided to take immediate action. He left his job in Chennai, where he had only been working for 7 months, and hurried back to his hometown. The cops were immediately notified, and upon investigating, they uncovered an important lead. Padma, Selvaraj's mother, who was now missing, her phone was traced to about 70 miles from Kochi. They discovered that just before Padma disappeared, she had spoken to a man named Shafi, the owner of a small restaurant on Chennai Road. Suspecting that Shafi may have something to do with this information, the cops went to his restaurant to talk to him. As soon as Shafi spotted the cops, he panicked and tried to escape. The officers chased him and eventually managed to catch up to him. As soon as he was caught, without being prompted, Shafi blurted out that he was not acting alone and that there were 2 more people involved with him. Surprised by his spontaneous confession, the cops didn't even have the chance to ask him if he knew something about this lady who was missing. Shafi had opened his mouth too soon. Shafi's one statement would mark the beginning of a shocking case known as the Kerala human sacrifice case. I usually put a pre-recorded statement at the beginning of every episode saying that this episode would contain some disturbing factors and only proceed with caution. But with this case, I want to repeat myself and say this is a very disturbing case involving murder and cannibalism. If this is something that you would not be able to sit through, I would totally understand and you can skip this episode. For others, let's get started. The case takes place in the state of Kerala, India. Bhagwal Singh and Laila Singh were a well-respected couple living in a prosperous neighborhood. The couple were doctors, with Bhagwal Singh being an Ayurvedic healer. They were from the Idukki district in Kerala. Both doctors were admired by everyone in the community. They were active on social media, they shared their kindness with others, and their popularity just grew. But behind their seemingly perfect lives, they faced a significant financial crisis, a secret that they kept hidden from everyone. Bhagwal was an active user of Facebook, and he found solace in an online friendship with a woman named Sri Devi. Over the course of 2 years, he confided in her, shared his troubles, including the financial situation that they were in. Sri Devi empathized with him. She told him that she also had similar problems at one point of her life, and that there was one person who helped her helped her get rid of those issues. As soon as Bhagwal Singh heard about this, he asked Sri Devi if he could meet this person, if this person could come and help him get rid of his problems. Sri Devi said yes. A few days later, there was a knock on Bhagwal's door. Standing before him was a man claiming to be the person that Sri Devi had sent. This man was none other than Shafi. Intrigued, Bhagwal engaged in a conversation with Shafi, explaining his problems and that he needed to get rid of this financial trouble that he was going through. To his surprise, Shafi said that all their problems are because of black magic, and that if they could get rid of this black magic, all their problems would disappear. Seeking a solution, Bhagwal eagerly inquired about how to solve this problem. Taking advantage of their vulnerable state, Shafi offered a solution, but mentioned that it would require a ritual. Shockingly, Shafi convinced Bhagwal to allow him to sleep with his wife, Laila. And that's not the most shocking part. He said that Bhagwal had to be in the room watching them while this happened. Now I want to remind you that both Bhagwal and Laila were educated doctors. They were not illiterates. They were not someone who didn't know anything about rituals or dark magic or whatever people were feeding them. They were highly qualified, educated doctors living in a good society among highly qualified people. Somehow, Shafi managed to persuade them to conduct this ritual, this unthinkable act. Now, Shafi was not done here. He said that just sleeping with his wife was not enough. They had to do something else. A human sacrifice. Shafi said that in this case, the couple had to find someone and then he would do the human sacrifice and all their problems would just disappear. I'm assuming that the couple were not quite up to it when Shafi gave this advice, because soon after that, Shafi told them that if they were not comfortable or if they could not find somebody, then they could just pay him a little. He would find the person to be sacrificed, he would make all the arrangements and he would do it. The couple agreed. Shafi knew a lot of women because he was in the restaurant business. These women that Shafi knew would sell lottery tickets. So out of all, Shafi picked his victim, Roslyn. He approached her and told her that he was planning to shoot a film, an adult film, and he wanted Roslyn to act in his film. And in exchange for this, he would give her 10 lakh rupees. Now I want you to think from Roslyn's perspective. Roslyn used to sell lottery tickets. She made a small income from about 1000 to 1500 rupees per day. So someone offering her 10 lakh rupees for one film was a big deal. I don't know the situation that Roslyn was in, but she said yes. The couple began to prepare for the ritual. Roslyn was taken to the couple's home, she was tied to the bed, and she thought that the film shooting was about to begin. But just then, Roslyn heard some discussion from among the trio, and that's when she realized that this was no film shoot. Something else was going on. She tried to scream, but just then Laila came and slit her throat. But that was not the end. The three of them proceeded to cut Roslyn and eat her flesh. This too was a part of the ritual. After this murder, the body was buried in the couple's backyard. Some time passed, and the couple complained that nothing had changed. Shafi had clearly told them that if they perform this ritual, they would become rich. They would get rid of all their financial troubles. So why were their financial troubles still there? Their life hadn't changed. They are Shafi, what's going on? For this, Shafi said that the curse was too strong. He said that just one ritual would not cut it. They had to do another ritual, repeat it again with another victim. Once again, our two doctors agreed. The whole process was repeated. They paid Shafi to go and find them somebody. Shafi went back to the ladies who were selling lottery tickets and picked another one. This time, he picked Padma. Yes, the same Padma whose son was looking for her. He gave her the same offer, the same video shoot, 15,000 rupees, and everything else was the same. All she had to do was say yes. And Padma said yes. She was taken to the same location, murdered the same way, and after that, her flesh was consumed. Her blood was then sprinkled all over the house as their ritual. Padma's body was cut 56 times, and those pieces were buried in their backyard just above Roslyn. Shafi was the last person that Padma spoke to, and that's how the cops got to Shafi. Because when they checked Padma's phone, they realized that the person that she had spoken the most to and the one that she had spoken the last to was Shafi. Shafi was immediately arrested, and upon checking his background, they found out that a few years ago he had assaulted an elderly woman and that he was on bail for it. This case is still ongoing and justice has not yet been served. Sri Devi, who had initially suggested the idea and started this whole cycle, was none other than Shafi himself. I'm not going to go too deep into this case the way I go with my other cases, because this case is still ongoing. The court has not given their verdict. Everything is still under investigation, and I don't want to say anything until this case has been completely solved. This episode is just to narrate the story of two poor innocent women. Two women who did not know what was coming to them, who did not deserve what was coming to them. Padma was a 52-year-old woman from the Dharmapuram district in neighboring Tamil Nadu state, and she lived in Cochin. Roslyn was a 49-year-old woman from the Thrissur district and lived in the satellite town of Kaladi. The family members are still suffering because justice has not been served. Selvaraj, in an interview with the Quint, shared his struggles after losing his mother. He had to wait for almost a month before he received her body for funeral. He is also facing financial difficulties ever since. Padma and her husband moved to Kochi 15 years ago in search of employment. They worked as daily wage laborers, selling lottery tickets and doing domestic chores. Padma had lived in a rented room at a lodge in Ilamkulam in Kochi, and 3 months ago her husband returned to Tamil Nadu due to ill health. According to the Deccan Herald, her daughter Manju said that Roslyn was previously living with her partner Sajish for the past 6 years at various places near Kaladi. They are originally from Katapana in the Idukki district. Roslyn left her husband around 20 years ago, along with her 2 children. Manju said in an interview, quote, "He used to assault her. Initially, we suspected Sajish was behind her going missing. My mother gave her ornaments to him before she went missing. He pawned a few. The rest was given to us after the cops became involved." End quote. Now, despite Manju saying this, the Kaladi police have a different story to say. They claim that the family had been living together for the past 6 years and they had resided in multiple houses. Neighbors and landlords have reportedly not expressed any negative opinions about them. Despite what Rosalind's daughter Manju says, the police mentioned that Sajeesh has no reported complaints of assault against him. I would like to add something here. This is allegedly because the case is still ongoing, so there's no way to know what's right, what's wrong, who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth. There are a lot of things that happen behind closed doors. Just because there is no complaint saying that an assault did happen, it doesn't mean that the assault didn't happen. Rosalind went missing on June 8th, while Padma went missing on September 26th. So there is quite some time between the two victims. At the time when Rosalind went missing, Manju was in Uttar Pradesh. She filed a complaint with the police, but nothing followed. It was not until Padma was found that Rosalind was also found. Manju said that she came to know about her mother's case from the media. Unfortunately, Manju's husband was found dead in December of the same year. Biju, who was then 44 years old, was found hanging in his house. Manju had gone to Ernakulam with her son. The reason for his death is unknown. As I said, Padma and Rosalind were two very sweet ladies. I don't have much information on them because any source, any newspaper that I open up, it's all about the couple, it's all about the murder. There's nothing much that says what kind of a person Padma or Rosalind were. I'm sure that they were good wives, they were wonderful mothers. Their children love them so much that they're ready to fight for them. I'm sure they had led beautiful lives. They would have had so much more to their lives if only it was not cut short by two people who wanted wealth. While researching this case, I wanted to know a little bit more about human sacrifice, the origin of human sacrifice. And that's when I came across this article. I'll link it in the description. You can read the entire article. I'm just going to talk about a few things. The article is really resourceful and it gives you an idea of why would someone want to do something as horrific as this. Now, human sacrifice is generally termed when people are killed as part of a religious or cultural ritual. It has happened in different societies around history, and although it is considered very wrong today, it is and it does happen a lot. It's just that it happens behind closed doors and we don't know. Different cultures have different reasons for human sacrifice. Some believe that offering a person's life would make the gods happy and it would bring good things to them. Similar to what Bhagwal Singh and Leila were thinking about. They wanted their financial problems to disappear. When speaking about human sacrifice, the Aztecs are the first ones that come to mind, or at least to me, the Aztecs were the first one to come to mind. But here I realized that they were not the first civilization in Mesoamerica to practice human sacrifice. It was the Olmec civilization in 1200 to 300 BCE, which was the first one to start this ritual. The Aztecs took it to a larger scale and they would sacrifice possibly hundreds or even thousands of people every year at their religious sites. In the Mesoamerican culture, human sacrifices were done to repay the gods for creating the world and the sun. Different forms of sacrifice were performed, such as cutting oneself, burning special pieces of paper soaked in blood, or even animals like deers, butterflies, and snakes. Valuable objects like precious metals, jade, and even shells were sometimes given as offerings to the gods. And when it came to human sacrifice, it was usually the captive warriors who were the first ones to be sacrificed. Sometimes people were sacrificed as punishment for losing a game. Children were also sacrificed to honor the rain god with the belief that their tears would bring about rain. You also have prisoners of war, criminals, slaves, all of whom went through these rituals. There's a lot more to this, and if I go into this is going to turn out to be a very big episode. And this episode is not dedicated to the Aztecs. It's just to give you an idea of why people started doing this in the first place. It was all for gain, thinking that they would please the gods and the gods would give them something in return, or that the gods had given them something and they were giving something in return to the gods. For them, it was a simple solution to their problems. This episode is dedicated to the victims, Padma and Roslyn, and their families. I sincerely hope that justice is served as soon as possible, because the families need relief. They don't deserve to suffer this much. Please find all links to my sources in the description box. If there is anything to be said, added, or if anything to be redacted, please contact me via email. I wanted to narrate this case with an open mind, with facts involved. I would really like to do a deep dive on this case once more information comes out, because no one should go through what Padma and Roslyn went through. Just one Google search was enough to give me so many more cases of such victims. Victims who were sacrificed. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred platform. It really helps me reach new listeners. If you have a true crime story or a case that you'd like me to cover on a future episode, please send in an email. I'll link it in the description. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to the 3am Fear podcast so you do not miss any future episodes. You can find my YouTube and social media links in the description box so you're always updated on what I'm up. If you love thrillers, I have a free thriller ebook listed in the description. Do check it out. Until then, stay kind and stay safe out there. See you next week.